So you beat the game, got all the luck charms, and killed Gunblower. But there's different endings according to the achievements, so what are those different endings and what exactly affects them? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that the endings aren't really that different. What ending you get depends solely on how many gold bars you got. And it also depends on whether or not you talk to Mary or Harry first. So the ending pretty much is who follows you out of Clover Creek at the end of the game. Starting with Duckbridge at the very low end, all the way up to who we ended up with at the end of the last video. You can also end up with no one. If you didn't get any of the gold bars, or if you only got 6, no one's going to leave town with you. It's actually kind of hilarious, especially when you have no gold bars, because then Luckslinger's just dragging around an empty crate. And in order to get Harry to follow you, you have to talk to him exclusively throughout the entire game. If you talk to both of them, I think Mary is the default. So if you really want Harry to leave with you, just talk to him exclusively, and he will. Yo! So you ever wonder what would happen if you just leave the boss's body on the ground and kept moving on? Well, there is some stuff that you might find if you kept moving forward. So at first I actually thought this was some sort of background narrative for the bosses themselves, as indicated by Sean and Frank's little secret hideaway thing. But once we got up to Morton, I started to question whether or not it was actually a background narrative. Especially once you get to Blondie, because it's a straight up reference. I recognize that cactus anywhere. Also, what the hell are you been keeping down here, Steven? What is that? What is that? So you're probably wondering, what the heck are those question mark achievements, and how the heck are you supposed to get them? Well, I can't tell you how to get it, but here's how one of them happens. Yep, that's right. Before the fight even starts, the boss will kill himself. And I'm not exactly sure how these things trigger, but it must be pretty hard because I have 45 hours logged on this game, and I've only had 2 instances of this happening. Once with Sean and once with Frank. In Frank's case, he ends up throwing a pickaxe into the air, and a rock ends up falling onto his head, instantly killing him. For Morton and the rest, I had to do a little bit of digging, and I found some texture files that had some descriptions as to what would happen if this was the trigger. And for Morton, he ends up having a heart attack. For Blondie, a bird attacks her, and she ends up dying for that. And for Steven's case, I didn't actually find a texture file, but I can only assume that he flips the coin, it ends up heads, and he just says, shit, and dies. And for Paco, Sargay actually ends up killing him instead of you. And that is all of the lucky kills. However, I don't have footage for all of them. In fact, the only one I had was for Sean. But hey, this will end up as a big surprise once you unlock them, I guess. So this next Easter egg is actually a cameo from other Duck Bridge games. If you're ever roaming around in the town of Clover Creek, you might just spot something running around in the background. Ah, there he is. That's one of the first ones. This guy is the king, and he's from a game called For the King, which you can find on Duck Bridge's website. It's a puzzle game where you have to get a king who is unable to walk to a door, and you have to do it by any means necessary. That includes turning your followers into blocks and killing them, all for the sake of getting the king to the door. However, it's kind of encouraged not to kill a lot of your followers, and only use as many as that is needed. Also, you can just straight up throw the king in hopes of him landing right in front of the door, because all that matters is that he ends up at the door. And if it means just chucking him, then so be it. It's a pretty fun game. So this guy right here is Max, and the game he's from requires us to get an Android device. And that game is 15 minutes max. And it starts out real cutesy where he introduces himself and proclaims that you're best friends now. But that's all to change in due time. So this is an endless runner where you do various different things depending on which house you're entering in. You could be doing anywhere from jumping over something to shooting a guy with a gun. Which seems pretty simple, until you actually get into the game, where Mr. Han attaches a bomb to Max's leg. And you also only have 15 minutes to play, so you have to score really high within that time limit, and Max is not really happy about it at all. So within that 15 minutes, you're going to be doing a lot of sliding, jumping, shooting, and dropping stuff. And the longer you go, the harder it gets. But all you're really doing is getting a high score. And once you mess up, you go right back to the start and start at 0. But what happens after the 15 minutes are up? Well, you can pretty much tell what's going to happen. He blows up. And he turns into a ghost. Oh. Well, at least he's happy. And then we cut to his grave, where his wife leaves him some flowers based on your score. And then he goes on to say that that's it, you can't play the game anymore. Which sounds weird. I mean, what's gonna stop me from just starting the game over again? I mean, for real, look, see, watch. Let's start this over again. We'll get another 15 minutes. Or not. We end up back at the stream, and he's basically talking about, oh, if only the creators made a sequel or something. Too bad that his next appearance ends up him being attached to a bomb again. Well, that about does it for this series. I hope to see you in whatever I decide to do next time. See ya.